Hi everyone, and welcome to the first Adespresso webinar of the year. Thank you everyone for joining me today. So what we're going to be covering today is how to get started with Facebook and Instagram advertising. So if you haven't started or you've just got very little experience with advertising on Facebook and Instagram, we're going to get you up to speed and get you in a good position for 2020. So you've probably seen on GoToWebinar, you've got a little chat panel there. Some people already putting some comments in there, but if you just want to let us know your name, where you're joining us from today, and if you can hear me okay, that'd be really appreciated. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. Most common question we get asked is, are we recording? Yes, we are, and we'll be sending that out by email. Sometimes they don't arrive though, so always go to adespresso.com/webinars if you're missing a replay. We try and put that up within a couple of hours, but always within 24 hours. So like I was saying, we've got that little chat box there where you can put questions. My colleague Tori is going to be monitoring chat today, and we're going to leave time for Q&A. So I can't promise we'll get to every question, but we'll get to as many as possible there. Just seeing who's joining us. So we've got Sathwick, and we've got Daniel, we've got Alexis from Minnesota, Mickey, Chris saying can hear you. We got Ray's from Pakistan, Paul from New Orleans. So many people joining us today. This is probably a record number. So thank you all. And then, like I say, we'll try and get to as many questions as possible there. So just a little bit about me, so you know my qualifications for delivering this training today. I'm Paul, I'm the Head of Education here at Adespresso. If you've got any questions afterwards, then you can always email me, paul@adespresso.com. I'll reply to every email I get. You can also tweet us at Adespresso, but probably paul@adespresso.com by email is the fastest way to reach me. I've audited campaigns from over 1,000 ad accounts from different businesses all over the world. So I've had a real deep dive into how different businesses run their ads. I personally manage about 1 to 2 million of ad spend every year for clients. So I'm not just talking the talk, I'm actually walking the walk. I actually go and place ads for clients through Adespresso every single day. And I coach clients of all different sizes. I mean, I do some for businesses which are well in the $1 billion revenue there, but I also love coaching small, medium businesses. That's where my heart lies as well. So what are we going to be covering today? We're going to be covering 6 topics. Of course, where we're getting started with Facebook and Instagram advertising, very open-ended question. We could probably spend hours on this, but we're going to cover the basics so you've got a good plan there to start placing your first ads. So first of all, why do we need to choose Facebook and Instagram over the other platforms? We'll address that. Then why do you need to be using paid ads at all on Facebook rather than just organic posts? And then really to place your ads, there's 3 stages, which is choosing an objective, selecting the best audience, and of course, designing the ad that people actually see. And then a common question I get asked all the time is how much should I be spending on ads? So we'll give you some little insights into there. But before we dive into these 6 topics, just one little clarification for you is that during this webinar, I'll talk about Facebook a lot, but what I mean by Facebook is actually the Facebook family of apps. As you'll see in this little slide from Facebook, Facebook's a whole family of different platforms. There's about 8 different ones. But what we're really interested in from an ads point of view is the main Facebook app, which can be on desktop or mobile. Facebook Messenger, we won't be going into that in any detail really in this webinar. We have got another webinar on our website that goes into Messenger in details, but also Instagram. WhatsApp, you can send some traffic there from ads, but it's not really an ad platform as such. The nice thing with Facebook Messenger and Instagram is they use one unified ad platform. So it's not like you've got to learn 3 completely different ads managers or have 3 different ad accounts and so on. It's all going to be managed through that same platform. So as soon as you learn one, it's going to make it easier to learn the rest there. So let's dive into today's training. So let's go and cover the first topic, which is why we should choose Facebook and Instagram as the platforms that we use for our ads. We can approach this from lots of different angles. First thing, I thought this was one of the most interesting news stories from last year, is that in 2019, according to Adweek, is that the amount of money being spent in the US on digital advertising surpassed that for traditional offline advertising. You think how long radio ads have been around for? They've been around for decades, probably getting on close to 60, 70, 80 years. TV advertising's been around for probably 50 plus years, newspaper advertising for a century. And now recently, in 2019, digital advertising surpassed that amount there. Some really compelling reasons why this is. First of all, you can track results. It's very difficult to track results from a newspaper ad, whereas you can get full tracking from Facebook and Instagram ads. There's something called the Facebook Pixel. You can track conversions, plus you can be tracking clicks and engagement like likes, comments, and shares. Targeting is very precise. Now, I know there's things they can do offline, like you can advertise in a magazine with a certain niche, but if you want to go broad, if you really want that scale, when you're advertising a normal newspaper, you can't choose the age and gender and interests or even geography sometimes that ad's going to be shown to, which you can online. We've also got the options to start with low budgets. That's going to be topic 6 that we covered today. And generally you can place the ads within hours. So if you place an ad campaign, Facebook approves them pretty fast and you can get them up to speed. Which you think Booking magazine advertising, I used to do some of that, and that used to be about a month's lead time for that. Final reason there is just think about all the trends. There's plenty of stats on this, is that TV and TV ads are being replaced with ad-free Netflix, radio ads being replaced with Spotify, newspapers are being replaced with websites, and so on and so forth. So this is where the trend is going into digital advertising. Now, what platforms should we be advertising on? This is from our partners at Hootsuite. This is our parent company. Did some stats last year and looked at the number of monthly active users for different social and messenger platforms. And we could just see here, Facebook by far the biggest, over 2.2 billion monthly active users. YouTube's the next one. That, of course, YouTube is owned by Google, so that's probably a second pillar of advertising, but we're not going to be covering that today. WhatsApp, as we saw earlier, is owned by Facebook. Facebook Messenger, pretty obvious. And then we've got Instagram down there. WeChat here tends to be popular in China, but not so much outside. So 4 of the 6 apps there with over 1 billion monthly active users are owned by Facebook. So we can see really good scale there. Sometimes the buzz is around things like Snapchat ads. It's really, really small. Pinterest, even smaller. Twitter, been around for a good decade, still not got that much traction. Now, obviously, if we had a huge marketing department with 10 people in it and we could learn all these different ad platforms, then great. But really, in the real world, we generally have to focus on the main ad platforms where we're going to be getting the most scale here. And that's going to be the Facebook family of apps. Also, not only is it best to go where the volume of users is, but they give some really good performance. And what you tend to find sometimes with things like Pinterest ads is that they're good for brand awareness, but they're not really driving those leads and sales in the kind of scale that you can do with Facebook. It's quite a mature ad platform there. Another stat, this was published in December, just right at the end of the year. I looked at the most downloaded mobile apps for the last decade. And we can see again more evidence that the Facebook family of apps is dominating. That the first 4 most downloaded apps are Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. There's plenty of other competitors there, but they all lag behind that Facebook family of apps. So it's just so much easier to be advertising on one unified platform rather than having to learn all the quirks of Snapchat, and then again, completely different and a rapidly evolving platform for TikTok and again for Twitter there. We could also look to the future here. We really want to be doubling down on the ad platforms that are going to be lasting long term and are going to be growing. And we can see here, a lot of times people think that Facebook growth has really leveled off. And to some extent, compared to the early days, it has. But we can still see there's really, more or less double-digit growth. It's just tailing off a little bit in the last year. But we can see really consistent growth there. Most other platforms aren't growing this fast. There are a couple of exceptions, but Facebook, there's still a lot of buzz around there. Also, just looking at their net income. So this is basically their profit. And we can see that the last quarter that they reported on, Facebook made $6 billion. That's just in a quarter. Now, I'll give you a little insight to some of the other platforms that are quite trendy. Some of them are hemorrhaging money, and we're not going to be convinced that all of them are going to be around long term. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I remember back in the day advertising on different platforms like Foursquare, which of course doesn't exist anymore. And I put quite a lot of effort into building up a following on Google Plus for my business. And of course, that of course doesn't exist anymore either. So we want to be really thinking long term. Where's the volume? What platform are consistently getting in leads? Are these profitable? Are they going to be growing long term? And everything really indicates that Facebook, Instagram, and the family of Facebook apps is where that's going to be happening there. So now hopefully I've convinced you that we need to be looking at digital advertising and specifically Facebook and Instagram. Why do we need to be using ads on Facebook? Why can't we just be using organic posts? Obviously we can have business pages and we can be putting as many posts out there within reason as we want. So why do we actually need to go and pay for these ads at all? This is a graph that I think many of you have seen. The figure is quite old here from, again, down only up to 2016, but I can tell you that the figures actually get worse for after 2016. I'm sure some of you have heard the term Facebook Zero or Facebook Apocalypse. This isn't actually the case, it's a bit scaremongering, but really the take-home message is that for businesses, on whole, Facebook is a pay-to-play platform. That yes, you can get some traction, you can get some organic reach, but really to get that significant volume of eyeballs on your posts, you need to be boosting those posts and running paid advertising there. I always like to give you real examples in this. We don't like kind of like theory, we like to look at actual figures. So this is a post that we put out there. Got 2,800 organic impressions there. That's out of 116,000 page likes that we get. That's 2.41% reach. Now, something to keep in mind here is that we tend to lead with lots of very useful content. We're not kind of purchase focused. We certainly don't put anything spammy out there. So we're going to get higher reach than the average business. Also, we're blue tick verified, which I don't think makes much difference, but we've basically got a page that should get lots of reach. And what we can see here is that it's going to be quite low, only 2,800 views, which is what we've got to pay. We can also see from the way that Facebook tracks that everything there really backs it up. This is real stats from an advertiser. They spent $1 million, they doubled their money and got 2 million back there. I could show you plenty of these. I could show you one from an ad account that I work on where they spent 10 million and got $20 million of revenue back. Some people go, oh yeah, advertising is really nice on Facebook, but it just gets eyeballs. It doesn't actually lead to anything meaningful. Well, we can actually track all that and we can prove time and time again. Somebody doesn't spend $1 million on ads unless they know it's working there. So hopefully that gives you a little insight on why we need to be paying for ads and not just putting organic posts out there. So if I've convinced you there, let's go and put this into action now. How do we get started with Facebook ads? What I'd like to do in this is just keep it quite high level, just give you three kind of main strategies that we need to be looking at in this particular order. So the way to succeed with your ads is before you run any ads and even before you think about any creative, you need to be choosing an objective there, which we'll cover in a second. Once you know your objective, what you actually want from these ads, we can then select an audience to show these ads to. That's your buyer persona or customer avatar. And the last step then is designing the ads. I know a lot of people think about the process the other way around, but the objective is really important to consider before you look at your creative there. So let's dig a little bit deeper into choosing an objective. If you go into Facebook Ads Manager, and you go to create an ad, this is the first screen you'll see, and you'll see it's telling you what's your objective. Same if you go into Ad Espresso. First thing you'll see is what do you want to promote? What kind of ad type? What is your objective there? As you'll see, there's quite a few there. So let's really simplify this. Let's break it down. I would say, and opinions might vary a bit, but I'd say there's probably 5 main objectives that you'd want from your ads. Website traffic, that's where you're going to be optimizing for link clicks. There's website conversions. This is where Facebook can be very powerful for your business and get you actual leads or sales. You can also run lead gen ads. This is where you're keeping people on Facebook. You don't even need a fully fledged website for this. You can just have like a very simple one-page website, because you can capture the leads and do all of that within Facebook. Great place to start for lead generation. You can of course do reach. This is where you just want to get eyeballs, so those impressions, or it could be video views. Or maybe you want that kind of brand awareness. You want that engagement where you get likes, comments, and shares on your posts. There are plenty of other objectives. I've listed some here. It's not an exhaustive list, but you can see there's plenty of other things that we can be promoting there on Facebook, like event responses. We could be doing messenger ads. We can be doing brand awareness, mobile app installs, driving traffic to a physical bricks and mortar store, or getting some page likes there. But I think we'll just concentrate on those first 5 objectives to keep it very simple for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to consider 4 different businesses. Just think of an e-commerce business. What does an e-commerce business want as the objective? They generally want website conversions, so they're going to be interested in sales. Yep, all the rest are going to be interesting, but their real primary goal, if you ask for one thing from an e-commerce business, is going to be sales. Second scenario, local restaurant. Now, there are different strategies on this. They could be using website visits, they could be using leads, but just thinking of a scenario here, they could just be targeting a local area, so they just want reach, because they're just putting a very tight radius around their restaurant to go and advertise to. Maybe they're using 60-second videos. They could be showing some of the dishes being prepared there. They probably also want some engagement, just likes, comments, and shares on the ads, so that people start tagging their friends and going, hey, let's go to this restaurant. We can go there for lunch. So there's more than one objective they could be using, but you just need to be clear before you run any ads, what do you want from this, and get everybody on board. Get another scenario here, realtor. They could be looking for leads. That's going to be the main thing. So they could be doing that through website conversions, driving people to a landing page and capturing the leads there. Or they could be running those lead gen ads on Facebook, as we discussed, where you just need a very simple website because you capture the leads on Facebook. Final scenario for you, just to really show how different businesses have different objectives. Maybe there's a food brand that's selling just in grocery stores. I did some coaching with a company that just produced tin tomatoes, and they're not really interested in sales on their website. They don't sell on their website at all. They're not even that interested in leads, really. They just want some traffic through to the website so people can look at the recipes they got on their website, and they really want that engagement on their post there. So what I recommend that you do, and this is for the whole team before you run any ads, is pick one primary objective per campaign. Do you want the sales? Do you want leads? Do you want reach? Do you want video views? Pick one, and that's what you have to optimize and aim for. I always put a cat graphic in each of my webinars, and basically the take-home message there is that you can't have your cake and eat it too. The problem when, well, the thing where you have problems with your ads is where you have mixed objectives. So you're optimizing for leads, and then you produce a report, take it to your CEO, and he or she says, well, we've got these leads, but why haven't we got any engagement on the ads? Or why have we got a very high cost per 1,000 impressions? That's because you can only optimize for one thing on Facebook, and the other metrics will get sacrificed there. And this is where people just really get wrong, they don't know what ad creative to use, what audience, again, because they don't know what they want from their ads. So have very, very clear vision, get the whole team to buy into it, including any senior managers, and then you'll succeed with your ads. To back this up, we did a $1,000 experiment. As I said earlier, we like to get some real data rather than just give you some theory. So what we did is we put $1,000 testing the same ads for different objectives. And rather than giving you all the stats, just really a summary, is let's say you optimize for link clicks for that website traffic. What we found is that you will get the lowest cost per click out of all the optimizations, but you won't get many conversions, and you'll pay more for impressions, and you'll pay more for those likes, comments, and shares, because Facebook is laser focused on getting you what you ask it to, which in this case is the cheapest traffic. Another finding of the experiment is, say you optimize for conversions. So you're looking for very, very high quality traffic on your website rather than just cheap clicks. You're saying to Facebook, get me people that are going to sign up as a lead or convert as a sale. So if you optimize for conversions, you'll get loads and loads of conversions in general, but you're going to get less traffic to the website because you're getting high, expensive, good quality traffic rather than junk clicks. And you'll certainly get less reach on your ad and probably less engagement as well. So that kind of really hammers home why we need to choose that objective before we start any other ads there. So I really want you to, when you're listening to this webinar, just really think about those different objectives and decide what is your main goal. Of course, you can have more than one objective if you're running multiple campaigns, but really just choose one to start with, and that will determine your ad strategy. Now, once we've got that objective in mind, then we can move on to the second stage of our ad strategy, which is deciding what audience to use. So really what I'm going to do with this is there's loads and loads of variables, and we've actually run webinars on this. Again, you can go to adespresso.com/webinars, and we've got a Facebook targeting blueprint. All our webinars are completely free to view, but I'm going to run through some of the basics on this webinar. So if we just run through the creating an audience from top to bottom in Adespresso, it's the same in Ads Manager as well. First thing you've got is locations. You can get very precise. You can go down to a 1 mile radius, or you can go for countries, you can go for continents, loads of different things that you can choose there. You can also use pin drops, and again, you can put different radiuses on there. So you can get really laser focused if you want to with your targeting there. Moving on, you can then choose languages. Generally, you can kind of leave this blank if you've got one dominant language per country that you're targeting, but certainly some countries in Europe, we're getting multiple languages, and that could be useful for you there. We can then target by gender, either just leaving that all, or we can specify males or females. Next, we've got age range here. Now, you can target from 13 plus, but of course, some products can't be targeted to under 18s, or with alcohol, sometimes under 21s as well. So pick that age carefully. By default, it will go from 18 plus. And also the maximum age range they can specify is 65. But what happens then is Facebook calls it 65 plus, which means it'll, if you put in, like you can target up to like 64, but then if you put 65, it then shows to people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on there. So you can see you can really dial down the age range that you're looking for. Maybe you want to just target, say, students, you can target them, or seniors, you've got full control there. You then have relationship status options. Be a bit careful with some of these. Remember that a lot of people on Facebook don't bother to update their information, or just regularly, or just don't put it at all. So you can use it like maybe if you're targeting like wedding planning services or wedding photography, you could target people that are engaged, but that's not going to be 100% accurate there. We do have some detailed targeting as well, which we'll cover in a bit more detail in a second. What you've got there is some demographics, which we'll look at there. These are basically things like interest targeting, and then custom audiences, which I've got a slide on there. You can even drill down if you need to by mobile devices, such as whether you're targeting Apple or Android, and even the operating system level for those. So the way to think about your targeting is really split up your funnel into two sections. So you've got warm traffic. Now, warm traffic is the term that we use for any audiences that already know you in some way. Again, we'll look at that in a second. And then we've got cold traffic, which is people that don't have that previous relationship with you. That's kind of prospecting that we're doing there, trying to build up those relationships. So let's have a look at the options we've got for warm traffic. These are what we call custom audiences. And this screenshot here is just from the custom audience creation tool within Facebook Business Manager. And you can see some of the options there. We can target website visitors. If we've got a mobile app, we can use that data from there. We can be uploading email lists. We can be using video viewers, people that have opened or submitted a lead form. Instant experience, this was called Canvas, anybody that's viewed those. Instagram engagers, Facebook engagers, people that responded to events. So loads and loads of options there to deepen those relationships with people that have already engaged with us. For cold traffic, the way that we can go, there's two kind of ways. The one is interest in demographics, the next is lookalike audiences. So demographics, you can see there's things like whether somebody's a parent, job titles, type of school, university, college that they went to, things that they're interested in. some behavior information as well. So lots and lots of targeting on there. Again, just got to be careful that we've got to decide how Facebook defines this information. For example, with job titles, not everybody puts in their job titles or keeps them up to date there. Some of these interests, maybe somebody's interested in a certain thing, but that could be 5 years old now. So it's useful, and I definitely use these, but also just be thinking, how accurate is it going to be sometimes? The other type of cold traffic audiences that we use a lot is lookalike audiences. So this is where you give Facebook a seed audience. Maybe it's a custom audience of your current purchasers, and you say to Facebook, okay, here's an audience of maybe 1,000 purchasers. Go away and find an audience of people with very similar characteristics. So this is a cold audience. They don't know you yet, but it's got a high chance of working. For example, if we say to Facebook, create a 1% lookalike, that means it's going to create an audience in that country of the 1% of people most closely aligned to that seed audience. So we're ditching the other 99% there. Should work well. I use lookalike audiences probably about 70 or 80% of the time for cold traffic targeting. Now, I've got a really good tool for you if you want some tips on how to find some interesting demographics for ads. If you've got more than 1,000 likes on your Facebook page, then when you go into Facebook Business Manager, when you have that hamburger icon on the top left, go and choose from the menu Audience Insights there, and then put in your Facebook page here where it says people connected to. And it'll give you lots of information. So it'll give you, compared to the average on Facebook, what's the age range and what's the gender distribution. It also has this page like section, very, very powerful. You'll see an affinity score there. We cover this more in the Targeting Blueprint webinar, but what you can do from that affinity score is see that interests. Well, what are the real common themes? What are the most commonly liked interests for people that like your Facebook page? So say a lot of you've got like 1,000 page likes, even if you haven't run ads before, you're thinking, I don't know what these people are interested in. Facebook is giving you all the tools that you need to succeed there. And in fact, what we're going to be doing now is just going to give you this free ebook. So there's no charge for this, but if you go to ebooks.adespresso.com, you can download our Facebook custom audiences guide. We updated that quite recently, and you can find all the information that you need there about those custom audiences. And like I said, there's also a Facebook targeting blueprint webinar on adespresso.com/webinars. So we're now at a stage where we've chosen our objective and we've done some research and chosen an audience, either a warm audience such as a custom audience, or maybe we're using some interest targeting or lookalikes. And now we need to get into what people are actually going to see in their Facebook and Instagram feeds, which is the ads themselves. So let's move on to choosing an ad type. Again, I'm going to keep this simple. There are about a dozen different ad types and loads of different kind of nuances and variations on Facebook, but we don't want to be getting bogged down in this. We need to actually go and take action, and that's going to be the way to succeed on Facebook. So 4 commonly used types of ads that you'll see on Facebook. One is boosting a page post, which we'll cover in a second, and then image ads, probably the majority of ads that you see in your Facebook and Instagram newsfeed. Then video ads, again, we'll look at some examples, and then there's what we call carousel ads. So if you're just starting off, probably the first type of ad that you ever run on Facebook, certainly what I did, is boosting a page post. The reason why you're probably going to be doing this first is because you're probably already posting organically on your Facebook business page. Remember, we need a business page, not a personal profile. You can only run ads from that business page, but business page is completely free to set up. You can set them up in, I don't know, about 2 to 5 minutes. So there's no real hardship there. To set up that business page, you're probably going to be posting on there because it's very similar to posting on a personal profile. So it's sensible to get started there. And what you can do with boost your page post is you can boost directly from the page. You'll see like a little boost button. Like I said, that's where everybody's cut their teeth on ads. You hit the boost button, it tells you what the budget is, choose basic audience, and away you go. I will say that as you start getting more sophisticated with ads, you really want to be going into Ads Manager or preferably Adespresso and boosting the posts from there. You just get more control over budgets and audiences. The pro with those is it with boosting those page posts, very quick and easy, and you're probably already creating page posts. But the downside, if we really want to start succeeding with ads, is you can't customize the ad format that much, as we'll see in a second. And also you can't really split test. So A/B testing or split testing is where you could be trying multiple different images or multiple different ad texts in your ads. And that really cuts down your cost. Like it could halve or quarter your cost per click, or your cost per lead, or your cost per engagement, and so on. Now we could produce multiple page posts and do it that way and boost them all. But generally there's a limit to how many page posts we can put out without our pages looking very spammy. So that's why we start with page posts, but you'll find that most advertisers quickly gravitate onto standalone ads. Now, some people call them dark posts. For simplicity, I just call it standalone ads. Basically, what happens with these types of ads, I'm going to give you an example now. These types of ads aren't seen on your Facebook page. They just pop up in people's news feeds when they're scrolling along there. But they give us much, much more flexibility there. So very common ad type here. This is an image ad. So you'll probably see most of the, if you're scrolling through your newsfeed, the most frequently used ad type on there. And we're going to really dissect these in a second. But you can use image ads. As it said, you just got the image there. We could be using video ads. Generally 15-second videos are what Facebook recommend. I sometimes go longer, like 30 or 60 seconds. You can go much longer, but really the watch time for ads is going to be quite brief. So you're going to start with that short video there, but you can tell more of a story than you can with image ads. And that third most commonly used standalone ad type is carousel ads. So carousel ads is where you get multiple cards. You can start from 3, but you could have 6 and maximum up to 10 there. And so you can just tell a story, or maybe you've got different product variations. Maybe you're selling shoes, you could be showing different types, like you could be showing like, you know, so like formal shoes, you could be showing sneakers, you could be showing flip-flops, like slippers, all sorts of different things there, or different color variations there. With those multiple cards, you can get across more information. Just be careful with carousels that less is often more on Facebook. People think, right, if I go and throw the kitchen sink at an ad by using like 10 carousel cards, that's going to engage with people more, and I'm really hedging my bets. But a lot of times just picking one really big, clear, highly engaging image can work best. Do keep in mind, a stat I talk a lot about in my coaching, is that about 94% of Facebook ads are served on mobile. People just aren't using desktop anymore for Facebook, apart from that 6% of people. So what you'll find there is that you've got a very small screen. Not everybody's using the latest iPhone 11. So that bright, clear, high contrast, really engaging image or video that really pops can succeed very well for your ads there. Again, we like to do some data on this. So we did another $1,000 experiment. And what we did is we divided up the $1,000 evenly between an image ad, the same ad, but in a video format, and the same ad again, but in a carousel. You've just seen the examples from this experiment, actually. You know, we tried to make the ads as close as possible. So we gave each one a budget of $333. And we ran it for lead generation. So we really wanted to see, you know, how much traffic do we drive? Does this actually result in high quality users that are going to convert as leads? What we found is that the image did best. Second was video, and the worst was carousel. Now, you know, big caveat here, it's going to be different for every business. So I'm not saying you've always got to use images and never use carousels. It's also going to depend on the funnel stage. So maybe if you're retargeting people, like that example we gave with shoes, maybe they come through to the website and then you're retargeting them. You're saying, right, we've got 5 different colors. Which ones do you want? Maybe a carousel would work then. But the reason I like to point this out is that with image being the winner, it means that you can quickly and easily and effectively produce your first ad campaigns. Sometimes you see all these blog posts or tutorials saying, right, it's all about videos. You've got to go out and record loads of videos and edit them and have all this equipment. The problem with that is then maybe, you know, you take a few months to get your ads running, or it's going to cost you money or so on. There's more barriers to entry with video. Or carousel, it's still a bit more difficult to produce the ads. Because what I'm saying there is just get some images. There's plenty of graphic designers out there, or a lot of times, you know, just like more kind of natural photos that don't look too much like ads succeed. So you can grab your iPhone, grab your Android, grab your Samsung phone, take some photos. You could be getting some ads out there the same day. As Nike say, just do it. Just go and take some images and start producing your ad campaigns. They can be highly effective there. So let's go and dig into the actual anatomy of an ad in a bit more detail. What I've done is I've highlighted that there's basically 5 steps to ad creation. And this is something you'll see with most ad units. So once you start getting used to them, you can then start creating your next ad campaigns quicker and quicker and quicker. The 5 steps that you got, by far the most important is the image or that video there. Like saying, people see your ad on mobile, so they're scrolling through their news feed. We need thumb-stopping content. That's going to be that bright, high contrast, really engaging, very clear image or short video there. Second most important thing is the headline. It's called a headline, even though it sits underneath the ads there. You can't get too creative there. You've got room for about 6 words maximum, probably about 8. Sometimes you can squeeze in if they're quite short words. But really just keep it blunt and to the point. Don't try and get too flowery in your headline there. Just tell people what they're getting. Remember, a lot of people are just surfing for funny cat videos and restaurant pictures and wedding photos on Facebook. So they're not looking for your ad. It's not like Google search. So we make it very clear what our ad is, that bright, high contrast image, quick headline like this. Well, what's this ad about? It's the ultimate guide to Facebook custom audiences. We explain in 6 words what our headline is. After that, you've got the primary text. We've actually got full webinars on this about copywriting in ads, but you can try different things. You can split test and try long versus short. It really depends on how complex your product is, how much ad text that we're going to be needing there. And we could try, sometimes we use bullet points or emojis. What we found generally works best is around about a paragraph if you're starting off. And remember, in sales, there's features and benefits. So features is the technical specifications of the product, but that's not why people buy. They buy on the benefits, how it's going to make their life better, what pain points it's going to solve. So that's really what we want to be focusing on with our ad copy there. And then we have this little minor thing called link description. Doesn't show on all ad placements. On most things, they will get cut off, like on mobile newsfeed and on Instagram. So it's quite minor. We're not really going to pay much attention to it, but I do like to put it in. Otherwise, sometimes Facebook will just fill it in from the random text it finds on your website. So it's not really a case of improving your ads. It's a case of making sure that they don't get kind of ruined by that text on the website. And then call to action button. This can be important, but there are only a limited number to choose from. This is customized for each language, but you'll find some fairly obvious options like download for ebooks, learn more is the default one, shop now for e-commerce, see menu if you're a restaurant, and so on. So call to action is very, very important, but you can't really get too creative with it. So just to recap there, is the image is the most important thing, headline second, primary text third, and then more minor is this link description and call to action. Just choose the best one from the presets that are available there. To put this into how you actually go and create the campaign, this is the ad creation screen in AdEspresso, and you'll see that anatomy of the ad is that you can put in your headlines. There's a little plus button if you want to split test multiple ones. Very, very easy to create multiple ads within AdEspresso. Your primary text, here we go, text box. Again, you've got that plus button. You can upload an image or videos, either from your current ads gallery, or you can upload new ones. Put in the URL of the website if you're running traffic or conversion campaigns. Put in that little description saying, although it's got a big box, you can't really put much in there before it gets cut off. And from the drop-down menu, choose your call to action button. So I really like to split it down to these 5 elements, because once you do, it's actually quite simple and very replicable to go and keep producing ads there. If you try and create a whole ad as one big single entity, it's quite daunting, and that's where people fail when I coach them. I have a coaching call, and then 2 weeks later I catch up with them. They haven't got any ads because they're trying to create this perfect ad. Where if you break it down, okay, what do I need for the headline? What do I need for the image? You can then produce them very, very quickly. Same within Ads Manager is that to create the ads, You can choose like a single image or video one first, or that carousel if you wanted to. But generally start with a single image or video. And then again, we've got the other four elements. Put in your ad text, put in the headline, put in the description, put in your call to action, that URL if it's a website campaign, and away you go. Very, very simple there. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on how to create the ads, look at the different audiences, and how to choose an objective. Now, the next question that we get when people actually go to create their first Facebook and Instagram campaigns is, how much should I spend on ads? Very, very open-ended question. Some advertisers spend very little. Some, as we saw, spend millions on their ads, and everything else in between. But what we want to think about is, well, how much do we spend when we're starting off? So first thing to keep in mind, great thing about running ads is you can start from $1 a day or equivalent local currency. We don't need big ad spends. We can test the waters with very, very little ad spend, like literally $1 a day per campaign there. Obviously, to get traction, to move that needle, we need to spend more, but it gives you an idea there. Also, some cheaper countries for Facebook ads pricing. We can start on even lower for 50 cents a day there. Second kind of angle of attack that when we want to be thinking about our ad budgets there is we can use the AdEspresso ads calculator. This is completely free. My colleague Toy is going to put the link into the chat box in a second, but let's just dive into this. So if we go at this presentation, we've got this calculator here, so you can basically go and copy this and get your own version. And what the ads calculator does, let's just go and move this up for a second here. Okay, so what we can scroll down is you choose what your revenue goal is. That's if you're doing e-commerce. If you're not doing revenue, you don't need to worry about that too much, but you can put in like the price of your product and service. And what I then recommend is that you run a small test campaign. People ask me all day long, what are my benchmarks? You know, what's my cost per 1,000 impressions? What's my click-through rate? Now, I can pluck random figures out of the air. I can give you your best guess, but there's nothing like placing some small ad campaigns. You know, the more the better, but even if it's only $100, if you can't afford that, then $50 or at least $10, just get some benchmark. And then once you've got those figures from your campaign, you can put them into this ads calculator before you put in your big budgets. You know, people say to me, do I need to spend $1,000 or $10,000 or $50,000? I say, right, you know, give me $100. Let's put out a test campaign. We then go to the AdEspresso calculator, and we can see what will happen here is you can put some calculations in, and they'll tell you how much your cost per click is going to be, how many clicks you would need to reach your sales goal, or this could be leads goal. You know, the number of sales or leads that you need, and our CPA, this is our cost per conversion there, and it'll give you your ad budget. So we can see, for example, if we're paying like $20 for 1,000 impressions rather than $10, that's going to double our budget. But maybe our click-through rate is good. Maybe we've got really engaging ads. We get our click-through rate up to 3%. And what we can be seeing here is that that's going to reduce our budget down to a third. And maybe our conversion rate on our website, maybe that's a little bit low. Maybe we've got a brand new website. It's not optimized yet. Let's put in like 1%. And we can see our budget's going to go up there. So whether you're running ads yourself or whether you're an agency running ads on behalf of clients, it's really good to play with this. And like I say, you just really need that small test campaign. So you've got some kind of figures. And then of course, what you do is then as you start running some production campaigns, you'll get more data and then you can start refining this spreadsheet there. So that's going to be, I think, something that's a very, very useful tool. So let's go back to our main presentation now. And another little thing about budgets, this is getting a little bit more advanced. We're not going to get too bogged down in this, but to get maximal performance from your ads, Facebook has something called the learning phase. It has really good machine learning or AI. And what can happen there is that we need about 50 conversions per ad set per week to get maximal performance on there. If we do some calculations on there, 50 conversions in a week means about 9 conversions per day. And remember, that's per ad set. That's basically the audience level, not per campaign level. Just to give you a quick example on there. Say it costs about $20 to get a purchase or a lead on your website, then $20 times 50 is about $1,000 we need to be spending. So don't get too bogged down in learning phase at first, and it's not the end of the world if we don't always complete learning for each ad set. You can still get really good performance. But you just get an idea. If you're looking in an ideal world, if you're working with some larger budgets and not just the kind of dollar a day strategy, then learning phase is really important. So I just wanted to plant that seed there. So don't worry about it too much now, but later on, as you build up your ad spend, then that's going to be something that's going to be important for you. And that kind of gives you the main overview on the strategy that we use when we're starting with ads. Just want to make you aware of a few useful tools. We were not going to spend too much time on these because I want to get some Q&A in a second. But again, I just want to make you aware so that you can do some homework after this session. Some useful tools for you. Before you run any ads, go to the Facebook ads policies. Treat Facebook like your 90-year-old deeply religious grandmother. Is that they don't like spammy, they don't like sensationalist ads. Read the policies. It's the most boring document, but you don't want to be getting loads and loads of ads rejected. So just go to facebook.com/policies/ads, or just Google Facebook ads policies, and you can read that, and you can see there's a menu for different areas if you do like credit, finance, weight loss, anything like that there. That's really going to help you. So in the way that Facebook has really built up its user base is being really conservative with the ads that it serves. So it's no good trying to get around the ads policies. You need to know them in advance, and then you'll succeed. Another great tool for you, Facebook Ads Library. This shows all running ads plus some archives for political ads. So you're probably thinking, right, I have no idea what I'm doing for my ad creative, even though I've broken down the 5 steps. Then see what brands that you admire are running. Maybe you can have a look at some of the big industry players and see what they're running, or competitors. Obviously, you don't want to directly copy competitors, but if you're seeing that they're doing a certain ad format, it looks nice, can you adapt that kind of thing there? We don't need to reinvent the wheel with ads. If you've got a huge agency and a huge budget, then yes, we can get fancy. But if you're a small advertiser, you're just starting off and you want to get moving with ads, go into Ads Library, get some ideas, and then adapt them, put them your own little twist, your own little style on them there. So the ads library, facebook.com/ads/library. Again, I can just Google for that and you'll find the link. Shows you all the active ads from all over the world. Plus it's got a 7-year archive for political ads. That archive's only been around for about a year, but it's got, over time that's going to populate there. It doesn't give you performance data, so there is a caveat there. It's just because you see a brand using an ad doesn't mean it's any use. Some people tell me, well, I've seen this big brand using that ad. Maybe they've just got a really bad agency. So obviously go and use some common sense. If you see an ad and you think, hey, that doesn't make sense, or you see it's got negative comments on it, that doesn't mean you have to use it just because another brand does that. You do get a bit of information though for political ads. It shows the rough ad spend, the number of impressions, and the age and gender and location they're targeting there. If you can't find a brand within the Facebook ads library, go onto their Facebook page. On the right-hand column, you'll see the page transparency section. Click on see more, and then if they're running ads, at the bottom of that pop-up it will give you a link to their ads library. The ads library sometimes a little bit clunky to navigate and you can't find all brands. So go onto their page, go into that transparency section, and that's the way of finding it. Also keep in mind that the ads library has got every ad, but like I said earlier, it doesn't mean they're good ones. If you want some good ad examples to learn from, you can download our ad examples. You can go to adespresso.com/ads-examples, find some good ones there. Another tool that you probably need there is the Facebook text overlay tool. Facebook doesn't like over 20% text on an image. It likes clean, uncluttered images, like we said, high engaging, high contrast images. So use that tool before you create any images with loads and loads of text on there and see if it's compliant. If they're not compliant, you'll get less reach on your ads there. Here's an example. If we use one of our webinar graphics from this webinar, it's got quite a lot of text, and so Facebook, if I ran that as an ad, would reduce its distribution. Then just go and finish up with a couple of little resources for you. So if you'd like, something similar to this webinar, but in a written guide, a lot more detail in this guide, completely free. We don't even ask for an email address for this one. You can just go to adespresso.com/guides. You can get a beginner's guide to Facebook advertising. We actually updated that just a few months ago. That's really, fresh and up to date. Also, I'd like to thank you for joining our webinar today. And so I think it's only fair that I give you a little treat in return. So if you go to adespresso.com/AE-webinar, we give you a free 14-day trial of Adespresso, and you can get a 30% discount as well. Adespresso makes it super simple to start with your Facebook advertising. That's why I learned Facebook advertising. Although I spend $1 to $2 million a year now, I started off with very, very small budgets, and I used Adespresso. So much easier than Ads Manager. Don't take my word for it. Try a 14-day free trial for yourself. And we've got a very graphical based UI, much better than Ads Manager. That looks like a giant Excel spreadsheet gone wrong there. It's definitely the way to start building up your ad spend. And it's really scalable as well. You can put very high budgets through Adespresso as well. Also, we don't just provide software. If you're thinking, okay, this is really useful, but I'm just getting more confused than when I started, I need some really specific, coaching here or hand-holding. We provide this for you. We've got some of the best Facebook and Instagram advertisers in the world working for us. We only pick people from the top 1% of advertisers to be our consultants. So we can do campaign reviews. Very low cost, where we review one campaign. We can do one-to-one video calls, and we'll go through your high-level strategy. We can also do managed services where we run ads for you. Sort of similar to an agent, where it's like a cut-down agency service, much cheaper. So what some people do is they start using the concierge service, and then they move up to the full-service agencies. We don't compete against agencies, but we provide a kind of like a bridge, a stepping stone for people on their way to building up their ad spend. If you want to know any details, just email paul@adespresso.com to discuss, or like you'll see, you can do adespresso.com/tour, and you can look at our marketing services there. Also, heads up on our next webinar, because we cover Google as well. All these marketing services you just saw, like the concierge campaign reviews and coaching, we offer for Google as well. And we also, next month in February, we're going to be switching our focus to Google. So we're going to welcome back Gianluca, one of our friends in Italy, and he's going to be covering everything you need to know about Google Ads bidding to avoid wasting money. If you want to sign up for free, it's adespresso.com/webinars. So thanks for joining me today, and I can see loads of questions here. So if you haven't asked a question already, but you've got a question for us, just put it into the chat box. I'm now going to open it up to Tori, my colleague. He's going to pick some of the best questions for me.
Awesome. Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks, Tori.
Okay, great. We got a couple of great questions here. I'm going to start off with a really good overview question here. What are some of the best things to test in order?
So really looking at the anatomy of the ad is that we really want image or video is going to be the key to success, and then look at headlines, although you can't get too creative with them because they're quite short, and then look at the ad text. And really, when we think about writing an ad, what we really want there, I think I covered it in the presentation, is focus on the benefits and pain points as much as features, or actually more than features. And also try and include a sense of urgency, like a limited offer, or why people need to act now. Sometimes I see very nice ads in my newsfeed, but I'll be honest, I don't know what the product is. Very common, because people try and get too clever with the ads, or they try and get a bit cryptic. I've also seen ads for hotels, and I literally don't know what country they're in. You kind of have to click on it, and then you find that, I don't know, maybe the hotels in Spain or something like that. So what you kind of need to do is have that fresh pair of eyes. Where possible, show the ads to different people, just like colleagues, friends and families, or a little focus group, and say, like, does this ad make sense to you? So that's the sort of things I'll be testing first. But yeah, test ad creative, and then later on you can test audiences as you go along, because you get quite a lot of data on what's working with the audiences. Even if you're not split testing by age and gender, you get all that reporting in Adespresso or Ads Manager anyway.
Awesome. Greg has asked, I think, my favorite question, one that we hear all the time from beginners. Greg says, I've had some ad accounts and even a business manager account get banned and then cut them all back after appeal. What's some advice on advertising after getting banned?
Okay, so first thing is, like I showed you, Facebook ads policy. You can just Google that and read that document. It's not very interesting, but we've actually done quizzes before with some of our best customers. You know, this is people that are running lots of ads, and I asked them questions based on ads policies, and most people get them wrong. Basically, nobody's read that document. You know, Facebook isn't trying to catch you out. If you read that document, then you're probably going to be getting some of your ads compliant there. I will also say as well, try and be within the spirit of the law, not just the letter of the law. People always thinking, well, if I just change this one word and I can get around things. You know, Facebook just doesn't like sensationalist, spammy ads. So if you think your ad is like that, you know, don't try and get around it. Just go and change your ads there. Also, there are a lot of reviews done by bots. So Facebook, you know, they've got so many millions of advertisers, they have to use AI. And so if an ad isn't approved, then go and appeal it, because they will often overturn them. And it is a kind of one of the weak points for Facebook advertising is that they are a bit trigger happy with rejections, simply because they've got more advertisers than they have ad space. So we really have to do everything to maximize our chance by looking at the ads policies and putting good quality ads. You know, if you've got something that's on the fringe of Facebook, then what I always recommend doing is getting leads, and then you can put more details in emails. So I'm not saying that you should be putting anything spammy at all, but sometimes, like, I've got clients that do things around weight loss. Facebook doesn't like weight loss that much, so what they do is they give people like maybe a dieting recipe book, get that email, and then they can use whatever words they like in email without triggering any bots there. So hopefully that gives you some useful information there.
Awesome. Next question here from Alexis. Just getting started, don't have 1,000 likes, can't access audience insights. What can we do? So I think maybe they mean how can we find some best targeting options if we're just getting started and we don't necessarily have any audience data.
Great. So first place to start is to watch the Facebook targeting blueprint webinar. So you can either go onto YouTube and go to the Adespresso channel and you'll see it there. Or the easiest way to find it is just go to adespresso.com/webinars. And I go through this because, yes, it is common. A lot of pages now don't have 1,000 likes. But basically, what we do is we think about customer avatars. So you can start with a customer avatar worksheet, which is where you get into the mind of the user. You might have more than one. We call them customer avatar or buyer persona. Basically, this is an audience that we show ads to. So there could be multiple of these, but we think, okay, who's going to like our product? And so we can then be thinking, okay, literally give them a name and then sort out an age, sort out a gender for them. What are their interests? What are their sources of information? And then we can really put that into Facebook Ads Manager with some interest targeting there. And as soon as you put one interest into when you create a campaign, you can then, there's basically an option there to browse very similar interests. So you can kind of riff off that first interest and you can find other ones there. Also, those lookalike audiences really, really powerful, and you need a seed audience of over 100. Though you might not have 100 purchases or 100 leads, but can we get 100 website visits? We don't need that much traffic, or 100 page likes instead of that 1,000. Or even really, really simple is we could start off by putting a video ad out there, building a custom audience of video views, and then building a lookalike off that. It's not going to be a super powerful one, but it gets us started. That's what we want, is we refine our strategy as we go along, but the way to succeed is getting started with those low budget campaigns, start building those custom audiences, and start doing that audience research, find those buyer personas, and then you can just improve things once that data starts coming in from Facebook.
Great. I see a couple people asking if we're going to be having this webinar on the website. Yeah, we're going to be sending that by the end of the day today. So everyone here is going to receive that via email. You can also find that on the Adespresso website and on our YouTube channel as well. Awesome. A couple of questions here specifically on setting up the Facebook Pixel. I see 3, 4, 5 people have questions on that. I know we have a webinar on the Facebook Pixel, so that's something we could probably go through with a couple of minutes that we have left here today. But for anyone else who's having questions about how to set up the Pixel, definitely check out a webinar that Paul did recently on that.
Yeah, I think we did this webinar only like last month, and that is a topic. Again, Facebook's making it quite easy for us. There's loads of automation, but just go onto our website, go onto the webinar section. There's a webinar where I just break it down to very, very simple steps. There's plenty of plugins for websites, like for if you've got a WordPress site, you can just Google Pixel Caffeine. That's the free plugin to set up your Pixel, provided by Adespresso. We're never going to charge for that. Shopify, which is the leading e-commerce website, you just put in your Pixel ID and it populates it all for you. But yeah, that webinar goes into detail. But definitely, if you are doing anything website related, you need that Pixel. It's free for the Pixel. It allows you to build custom audiences for retargeting, gives you full awareness. If you are using an agency as well, make sure that they're using that Pixels. Basically, there should be full accountability. You should be able to see the number of dollars you put into campaign and how many leads and sales and conversions that you get out the other end. It's quite scary sometimes for us advertisers because we've got nowhere to hide. Our clients can always see exactly what we're doing. In the good old days, we could just kind of fudge the results just by looking at secondary metrics like reach or traffic. But the Pixel is one of the reasons why Facebook and Instagram advertising and digital marketing in general is so strong these days. Okay, I think we've got time for a couple more questions now, and before we wrap up for today.
Perfect. So can you recommend a really good course on Facebook advertising?
It's a very open-ended topic. The problem is there's so much to cover and people have got different levels of experience on there. What I would do is I really recommend our Adespresso resources. I know I'm biased, but we do write all our courses with new users in mind. So if you join Adespresso, you don't just get the software, you get Adespresso University. We basically got a private Facebook group, access to the data from our experiments, all our webinar archives, because we don't have them all on YouTube. We've got ebooks and so on, and you've got access to our consultants on there. So something like that could be useful, but I'd certainly say, watch our webinars. If you just want somewhere to start, right, well, I would say, yeah, a good place to start. Download that beginner's guide that we saw in the guide section of our website. If you need help on specific topics, there are most of our webinars there. And then you can take it from there, then join Adespresso and get access to our university. Run some campaigns. Once you start getting data in from the campaigns, that's really going to shape your advertising on there. But also, just like we ran through in this webinar, really start by thinking about your objective. Once you've got your objective, then think about your audience, and then you can start working on your ads from there.
Okay, great. So I see a couple of people have asked if they can take advantage of the offer that we mentioned, 30% off of your first couple months of Adespresso there. Yeah, definitely. So go ahead and reach out to support and they'll be able to help you with that discount and apply it to your account for you.
Excellent. I think we've got one last, time for one last question today. So if anybody's got follow-up questions, always feel free to email me, paul@adespresso.com, and I can't promise I'll answer them immediately, but I'll always reply to everyone that I get there. So yeah, time for one more question.
Okay, last question here. Have you seen the lead generation objective be more effective than a conversion ad and a landing page?
Oh, what I'd say for that is for cold traffic, this is prospecting when people don't know you. I prefer taking people through to a landing page. It's not that you get more leads on the landing page, but you tend to get higher quality because they have to see your website and your logo and kind of see what you're about first. Lead generation ads are really good, but sometimes they're a little bit too easy and people submit their details without knowing what they're quite doing on there. Where lead ads are really good is two scenarios. One is if you're just starting out and you're thinking, God, I don't want to buy landing page software and so on. I just want to test the waters. Well, Facebook are going to make that super easy for you. If you've got an ad account, you can build a lead form and be running lead gen ads on Facebook, within a few minutes. So again, the best advertisers are simply the ones that get started. So I love them for new advertisers on there. Also, where they're really good for is retargeting. Once people already know you, we don't really need to take them through to the website and show them our logo and a little explainer video on that. So we can build those custom audiences and we can retarget them and get the leads. So that's where they're useful. So thank you everybody for joining us today. So we've got really loads of questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone, but certainly reach out to me if you've got any questions that I can help you with. And we're going to send you that replay. Look out in your email, but otherwise on the webinar section of our website. And thank you everybody for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you on our February webinar.
Ready for dinner?
Yeah. Thank you, Han.
That's right.